Hi, I'm Donna. Today's practice will be strong, but it's nice and slow, so you can take your own time and space to get into the postures. A blanket and a bolster might be really useful to help you do that. And if you don't have a bolster, just use a blanket. Um, the side body, really important to keep suppleness in the rib cage and all of those connective muscles and tissue and fascia so that your breathing is really effective. That's what we're going to do. So if you find it hard to sit comfortably without a blanket, maybe it's because your knees, like mine, are higher than my hips when I sit like this. So if I just lift up onto a blanket, much easier. And your spine feels like it's in a easy line over your sit bones, and just pay attention to how your head sits on your spine. We want to find a feeling of the spine being balanced, front and back in balance, side to side in balance, and the skull just floating at the top of the spine. And just put your hands so it's comfortable for you to rest your shoulders. If you turn your palms up, it's going to open the collarbones a little wider. And closing your eyes and tuning into your breathing just as it is in this moment. Feel where the breath reaches your lungs, the deepest place it reaches. See if you can shift that depth right down into the abdomen. So you feel the abdomen expand and contract with the breath. Can you feel both sides of the rib cage moving when you breathe? Just whatever it is and as it is. Still feeling that easy balance of your spine and the floating of the skull at the top of the spine. Good. And then gently opening your eyes, and we're just going to take one hand down onto the floor and lean in that direction, and then other side. Good. And we're lengthening the spine in the direction you place your hand. Try and keep the sit bones anchored. As you lean, try to keep the lower side of the waist really long. Good, and then coming back up to center. Good, and now turning. We're just going to reach the ribs around to one side and then the other side. You're just gently looking over your shoulders. So we want to keep that feeling of ease at the base of the skull. So don't strain your neck to look, but let the ribs turn. Good. Last side. And coming back to center. Good. And then we're going to ease the spine back, tuck the chin into the chest, ease the spine forward. So you're kind of rolling forward and back on your sit bones. Breathe out as you squeeze the front of the body, and breathe in as you lengthen and widen the front of the body. Breathing in and out through your nose here. Good, and then coming back to lengthening your spine, floating the skull, closing your eyes. Feel that deeper breath now. A little bit of movement waking up the torso. Good. And then take one hand onto the floor beside you, and you're going to lean out to that side, but we're going to lift the opposite arm up and overhead and just stretch that side of the body. Good. And then other side. The hand that was up goes down, the hand that was down goes up. Lengthen that side of the waist. Good. And keep going from side to side. Just as far as your body feels like moving, waking up, breathing. Try to keep both sit bones onto your blanket or your support or the floor. Good. And then coming back to center. And then turning your head to look over your left shoulder, coming back to center. Turning your head to look over your right shoulder. We'll keep the underside of the chin parallel to the floor. One more each side. Just notice how your neck feels and that connection at the spine to the skull. Good, and sitting with ease. Great. Now you're going to take your blanket, bolster if you like. The bolster might be a little bit strong, so I'm going to choose a blanket and make a roll or triple fold on that long edge, and that's going to go underneath the shoulder blades so that you can lay down. Oh, lost my sound. All right, put the blanket under your shoulder blades and it should feel like your head is comfortable onto the floor. So if you're right up on a bolster, you're going to be tipping back more, and if it squashes the back of the neck, it's too high, so take a lower support. Okay, because we just want to reach the arms overhead. Okay, try and get your shoulder blades nice and wide and flat. Make sure it's comfortable for your shoulders. Good, but we're going to stretch out through the arms. Maybe your hands reach the floor, maybe they don't. You might need to put them up onto a support if it feels a little too strong in your shoulders. Just let gravity relax your chest, your armpits, your shoulders. And if it feels fine in your lower back, you can take your legs out to straight. Stretch out through your soles of the feet. Really stretch through the fingers, so lengthen. Good, but relax your throat. Feel the breath, where that seems to reach into the ribs. Does it reach into the abdomen here? Good, and then releasing. Bring your arms back in so you can roll off that equipment. Just take that out and lay back down on your back. Good. And stretch out straight again, breathing deeply. Good. And walk your feet across to the right side of your mat. Good, so your torso stays in the center line of the mat. But you start to feel a stretch on the left waist, maybe the left hip, left thigh. Good, and then you're going to start to walk your shoulders a little over to the right as well. So you're making a banana shape and really stretch out through your left hand, your left arm, your left leg. Good. Just relax your neck, relax your throat. Let the breath be right into the belly. Good, and then we come back to center. And walk your feet across to the left side, just as far as you can. Keep your torso centered. Okay, until you can start to feel, you can stretch out through your right leg, your right foot. And then we're going to just walk the arms and the shoulders across a little to the left side. And see how you go stretching through your right arm. Just notice what happens. Breathe. Can you feel that breath into the abdomen? Good, and then coming back to center. Nice big stretch again, but keep the collarbones wide, the shoulders wide, so your neck is relaxed, not squashing your shoulders into your neck. Good, and then bend your knees in. Hug them into your chest and just rock a little across your spine. Enjoying the depth of the breath. Good, we'll rock to the right side and come up so that you can take a all fours position on your mat. Good. So we'll press the fingerprints, the base of the index fingers. Good, elbow creases facing, and bring your knees so they're just hip width distance apart, so not too far apart. And we're just going to rock the hips from side to side or sway the hips. So if this is too strong in your knees to be on the floor, put a blanket under your knees. Okay, I've kind of got my shoulders over my wrists. You might need a little more room for your wrists to be more comfortable. Just listen to what they need. Good. If I walk my feet back further so my knees are behind the hips, when I sway, it's a little more work for the front core. So you can try that. You might be feeling really strong already for your practice. You can try this from a plank position. We're just going to take the feet out as wide as the corners of the mat. Try not to sag the hips down to the floor, but we've got to sway a little from side to side. If that's too strong, just put your knees back down on the floor. Good, and then back to center. We'll take the knees to the floor and come into forward virasana. So have your knees wide enough so that you can make lots of space for the belly, the ribs to really accept the breath. Draw the tailbone down towards the feet. Lengthen the sides of the waist. The armpits, the back of the neck. Feel where the breath reaches to in your body. Good, and then we're going to walk the hands across to the right side of the mat. Try to keep your left sitting bone anchored down towards your heels or onto your heels, but really stretch with your left arm. So the more you stretch there, the bigger the stretch you'll feel in the left side of the body. Keep taking the sit bone back and feel where that is mostly elongating the left side of your body. Might be your shoulder, might be the waist. Breathe into the space that this posture makes. Good, and then coming back to center. And around to the left side. So walk the hands as far as you can, reach your right hand as far as you can. Keep the right sitting bone onto your heel. Neck relaxed, throat relaxed. Good, and then coming back to center. Reach your arms forward, feeling the spine center. You might like to just wriggle along your spine, finding your ease. Good, and then look forward at your hands. Elbows come out wide and you bring your nose, your chest just above the floor. See if you can hold your chest off the floor and wiggle your legs in so that they're parallel. Good, draw the elbows back. Good, wide across the chest. Good, and then we let that reach out through the legs and we let the lower back start to lift the torso. So you can take your hands off the floor. Maybe you can. Maybe you need to keep them on the floor. Good. And then we're going to lift up just as far as is comfortable for your back. Just might be a little way before we warm up. Good. And then press all the way up. Lift your spine up towards the ceiling. Make a rainbow shape for cat stretch. Just put your knees where it's comfortable. Your shoulders over your wrists where it's comfortable. Good. And then inhale. Let the spine make a valley shape and look up. Good. And keep going. Good. Make the valley shape. Tuck your toes under. And we're going to lift the knees just off the floor. Squeeze the belly. Squeeze the pelvic floor. And then adjust the shape of your spine. So you feel the front core, the back core working to keep the spine long. Lengthen the lower back, draw the shoulder blades back, find that ease at the base of the skull. Good, and then take the knees out wide enough so you can be back into forward virasana. Finding your ease along your spine. Enjoying the depth of the breath. Find where it reaches to. Relax the occiput. Good, and look forward at your hands. Elbows out wide, chest and nose just along the floor until you're laying down between your hands. Good, so our legs go back, parallel, lengthen your lower back, nice and soft across the sacrum. But lift the breastbone, let your back do that. So your hands might be supporting, or maybe you can take them off the floor. Breathe deeply. Good, and then hands back down, and we're going to lift up just as is comfortable for your back. Keep your elbows in, keep the shoulder blades back. Good, and then we're going to arch the spine up, make a rainbow shape. Find your best position for your knees, your shoulders, in your all fours position. So knees are about hip width distance apart. Good, and then arching the spine down and arching the spine up. In your own time, cat stretch. Good, and then tuck your toes under, lift your knees just off the floor, and find the shape for your spine where the front and the back core feel like they're supporting each other to lengthen your spine. So no compression in your lower back. Press the fingerprints, the base of the index fingers, lift up between the shoulder blades, squeeze the belly, relax the base of the skull. Good, and then we're going to lift the knees all the way off the floor, downward facing dog pose. Feet are about hip width. Good. You can pedal your heels. So pressing one, heel down, bending the other leg, and then the opposite side. Good. We keep the collarbones wide, the armpits nice and long. Relax your head, your neck. Breathing deeply. Good. We're going to take the left hand and reach back to try and hold the outside of the right leg or the outside of the right foot, and we'll press the heels down. Feel the space where the breath gets to. Good, and release that side. And right hand lifts, reaches back to the outside of the left leg or the left foot if you can reach. Press the heels down. Let the torso turn. Keep the neck long. Feel where the breath reaches to. Good, and then releasing back to downward facing dog pose. Good, and then bring the knees to the floor. Take a moment in child's pose. So you can rest your hands. You might like to squeeze them into a fist and release, and squeeze and release. Feeling where the breath reaches to, where you can let go of tension from your body. And then from child's pose, we're going to lift up. And you're going to walk your hands to the front of the mat. I'm going to put a blanket down underneath my elbows. hard floor. You might have a softer floor. So lay down onto your belly. So your elbows are on something soft, and you can have your forearms parallel. I'm just going to have soft fingers. Point your thumbs up. All right, your elbows are right under your shoulders. Okay, and two ways you can practice here. You can try just lifting the pubic bone off the floor, so we're still onto the knees. And we're going to lengthen the lower back. So you really want to find that nice working together of the front core of the body and the back core of the body. So that might be enough work. You find that's very strong. If you want to go a little stronger, you can try taking the knees off the floor as well. So try and keep the shoulders over the elbows. Breathing deeply. Make sure you keep your lower back long. Good, and then knees down to the floor. Ooh. All right, we're going to turn onto the left elbow and left side of the body. Okay, so same thing. We'll just keep soft fingers, poke your thumb up, but we want to keep the shoulder right on top of the elbow. So don't let it just hang out. You can even use your other arm if you need to stabilize. Obviously, don't do it if it hurts your shoulder. Okay, modification. If you want to come just up onto your knees, bend your feet back so you've got a little bit of balance, but we're sort of shoulders, hips, knees in one line. And then we try and lift up so the spine is a straight line. Good, a little bit stronger. Come up onto the edge of the feet. You can lift your arm if you like. But again, we're trying to get the sides of the waist even this time. So we're not sagging down, lifting too high. Squeeze the front core, squeeze the back core. Keep breathing. Keep the shoulder nice and strong. Keep tucking it in towards the mid of the body. Good. And then release. Lay down onto your back. Take a moment. Ooh. Left side will feel pretty warm. And we'll swap to the other side. So I'm going to lay on the right side of the body. Right elbow goes underneath the shoulder. We have soft fingers, but poke your thumb up towards the ceiling. All right, if you're lifting up just onto your knees, take the feet back behind you. Okay, so keep the shoulders stable, keep it moving into the mid of the body. A nice straight line through both waists, or even length, I should say, or up onto the outside edge of the right foot. You can lift up your left arm if you like. Draw the shoulder blades back, keep both sides of the neck even, both sides of the waist even. Front core supports the back core. And release. And fall into a heap on your belly. Just turn your face to one cheek. Take your arms back beside you so you can relax your shoulders. And letting go. Turn your face to the other cheek. And letting go. Good. And then use your hands to help you to lift back up onto all fours. You don't need the blanket now. Bring your hands right to the front of the mat. Walk the knees back so your hips are over your knees and ease your chest towards the floor. Your lower legs go parallel, straight back, toes straight back. Let the armpits open a little more. Let the belly be relaxed here, long, broad. Space between the shoulder blades widens, collarbone widens. Good. And then gently lifting up. Walk your knees in so you're in your all fours position. Tuck your toes under, downward facing dog pose. Good, and we're going to walk towards the front of the mat. So take little steps and roll up when it feels like you'll run out of room. Lift your arms, look up. Good, and as you exhale, Tadasana. Good. And we're just going to hang forward. So bend your knees and ease your torso out and over the front of your legs. You can support onto your legs or just on the floor if that's where you reach, wherever you reach to. Just checking in that the base of your skull is relaxed. Between your shoulders is nice and wide. Between your collarbones is wide. And feel where the breath seems to reach to in your body. Your feet are parallel. The second toe, that midline, they're parallel to each other. Press the outside edges of your feet, the inside edges of your feet. Lengthen your toes. Feel each toe print connected onto the floor. Good, and then we're going to walk the hands around to the left of your mat, but try not to spin the right hip when you go. So keep the right hip back so the front of the hip stays square to the front of the mat, but walk your hands just as far as you can. If you can't reach the mat, of course, just hold your leg and reach with your right hand. Keep your neck nice and relaxed. Straighten your legs, lift your kneecaps. Good, and then back to center. So follow your breath as you do this. Walk your hands around to the left. Try to keep the front of the hips square to the front of the mat. Reach as far as you can with your left hand, maybe up onto your leg, onto the floor. Can you feel the breath reaching to the left abdomen? Neck relaxed, throat relaxed. Good, and then coming back to center. And wiggle all the way along your spine. Look up, arch your spine down. Look towards your navel, arch your spine up. Look forward, arch your spine down. Good, bend your knees, inhale all the way up. Lift up, arms up, look up, Urdhva Hastasana. And as you exhale, Tadasana. We're going to bring the hands in front of the heart and take a stance so your feet are together. And sit your bottom, bend your knees and sit your bottom back rather than your knees forward. So knees stay over your ankles as much as you can, but sit bones towards the floor behind you. Good. Find the position for your back where you're not compressing your back, but you're using your front core to help support and lengthen. So the spine feels like it's elongating from the pelvis, but the pelvis feels stable to the floor, or level to the floor. The space around the heart, spacious. Reaching the breath right into the belly, right into the ribs. Good, and keeping the hips just where they are. All we're going to do is turn the rib cage from side to side. So if you keep your thumbs against the breastbone, we're not taking the hands and not the ribs, so we're trying to move the ribs. Good. And if it feels okay, you can go a little bit lower. So you might start to imagine the right elbow reaching towards the outside of the opposite knee. And some people are going to be able to do that, but don't do it at the expense of your back. So listening to the shape of your back, how you use the front of your core to support the back core. Squeezing pelvic floor. Good. Coming back to center, just wiggling the spine nice and long, arching the spine back, arching the spine forward, finding your ultimate best position. Neck relaxed. And reach the arms overhead. Utkatasana. Feel the spine lengthening, the front core lengthening, space across the heart. Feel the breath. Good, and then straighten your legs, lift up, look up. And as you exhale, Tadasana. Lift the front of the legs, front of the hips. Lengthen the belly, lift the chest, draw the shoulder blades down. Float the skull on the top of the spine. Find the best position for your spine, using your front core to support and lengthen. Find your foundation, each toe, touching but not gripping, lengthening your toes. Press the inside edges, the outside edges. Good. Bring your hands in front of your heart. You're going to step your right foot forward and your left foot back. And what we're looking for is about a hip width distance between the feet and a big enough distance so you can stretch your back leg, but also have both heels onto the floor. The toes are pointing forward. Good. You're going to bend your front knee so that it's directly over your ankle, not in front. Good. And then take your left hand down onto that knee and your right hand onto your sacrum. And we're going to turn the torso, press the back heel. If you can reach further here, you can take your left elbow down onto that knee. Good. So you want to find your solid ground here. So stretch out through your toes. Try to press the inside edge and the outside edge. Maybe your back heel's lifting a little. Press it down. Good. And then just see how you go straightening your front leg. We want to keep turning the ribs. Right ribs are lifting up. Okay, so you're here, you're here. Neck stays long, both sides of the neck. Good, and then releasing. Bring your hands back in front of your heart. Step your left foot forward and your right foot back. Okay, so just find your good ground. So feet about hip width distance apart. Try to get both heels on the floor, so take the distance you need to get that stretch in your back leg. And you're going to bend your front leg. So the knee is on top of the left ankle. Good. And then we're going to take the right hand onto that knee and the left hand onto the sacrum. So we're turning the ribs here. Left ribs reaching back, right ribs reaching across to that left thigh. And if you have no trouble reaching here, of course, take your elbow down onto the knee. So you're reaching a little further. Keep pressing back through your back heel as much as you can. Draw the shoulder blades back towards the back waist. Lengthen the sides of the neck. Open the front of the body. And see how you go straightening your front leg. So you can either have your elbow onto your knee. You can put your hand onto your leg instead. Let the focus be on the breath in the ribs, opening the heart. Feel the foundation of your feet, strong legs. Good, and then bending your front knee and coming back to center. Good, and step your right foot forward. Feet are under the hips. Reach your arms up, lift the front of the legs to help you with your little back bend here. Good, and as you exhale, hanging forward, standing forward bend, Uttanasana. Reach your right ribs forward, reach your left ribs forward. Wiggling yourself to center. Relax your neck. Lift your kneecaps and your sit bones and your quadriceps, but lengthen and hollow the belly. Feel the flow of breath in the spine, the whole length of the spine. Good. And then from here, we're going to lay down. So you might be able to do that in one smooth movement or whichever way feels appropriate for you. So take a laying down position. Just tune in to both sides of the pelvis, so feeling that that's evenly placed on the floor. Maybe you feel a little tilted, so just adjusting where you need to, and both shoulder blades. And getting the neck as long as you can. Good. And then we're going to bring the feet together, or inside edges of the feet together, knees together. And lift your hips and swing them to the left side, and then knees towards the floor on the right. You can take a support under there if it feels a little too far to reach. Good, but we'll keep the left shoulder blade as much as you can onto the floor. Okay, now you can use this to take a passive experience in the posture, just letting go, noticing where your body lengthens, or it's possible to find tension and let go. Or you can use the core and really squeeze the front core to support the back core, and just take your feet and your knees off the floor and hold. And even though you're squeezing the front and back core, we're still looking for that ease across the chest, the throat, the shoulder blades. Okay, so you're either resting or using the core strongly. Good. You can keep going. You can experiment with taking the knees a little higher towards the line of the shoulders. If that's too strong in your back, just put them where it works best for you. You can try taking your top leg straight out. Good. You might be able to match with the lower leg. You might need to rest them on the floor at that stage, or you can still use the front core strongly. Good, and then bend your knees back in and support with your feet on the floor. So you're gonna just have a nice soft back as you lift up. Find your center again. Good, and then for the second side, you lift your hips and swing them to the right and knees to the left onto a support if the floor feels just a bit too far. Try to keep the right shoulder blade onto the floor. Good, and you can decide you're going to be just receptive, passive to this shape. You don't need to do any more work, just follow your breathing. Or you can try squeezing your front core to the back core and lifting your feet off the floor, your knees off the floor. Good. You can try taking your top leg, the right leg out straight. Maybe you like the feeling of the knees being up higher towards the shoulders. Just find the position that gives you the best movement in your back. You might be able to do both legs. You might need to rest them. So if your feet are off the floor, keep using the front core, keep that awareness, squeeze the pelvic floor. Good. And then bend your legs back in and feet onto the floor. So just nice and soft in your middle as you come back up to center, but your feet are supporting you. And find center. Good. Take your feet out as wide as the mat. And just let them fall to one side. So let's go to the right. Just taking a few breaths there, relaxing chest, ribs, belly. Good, and then coming back up to center and taking the legs to the left. Letting go in your abdomen. Good, and then coming back up to center. Take the feet out even wider. Good, and then gently falling to the right. Okay, so what you've got now is your left thigh in a line with your left ribs. Good, just relaxing the hip, the belly. And if you want to make that a stronger stretch, you can pick up your right foot and put it onto the knee and bring the knee closer to the floor. But really we're trying to lengthen the front of the thigh here. Okay, so don't use your other leg if that feels too strong, but just paying attention. Good, and then coming back up. Okay, it's right out to that wide-footed position. So now when you take your knees towards the floor, we're trying to get the right thigh in a line with the right ribs. Good, just taking notice. And if it's too strong, of course, in your knee, you could put your bolster under your knee or just bring the feet in closer until it's comfortable for you to do. Sorry, I should have said that on the first side. Good. And if you feel like you want more stretch, then use your other foot to just add a little bit of weight. But do try to lengthen the front of the thigh muscle so we're pressing the knee away from the hip. Just observe where you can let go around the hip, the abdomen, the lower back. Good. And then gently coming back up to center. Bring your feet into hip width distance again. Good. Arch your lower back into the floor. Let the belly hollow. Lift your lower back away from the floor. Let your abdomen be spacious. Really fill it with breath. Good. And I'm going to finish the practice with legs up the wall. You could choose Shavasana if you like, but I happen to have my bolster here. You can use a blanket or you can just have the flat floor. So if I lay down first beside my blanket or my bolster or just on it, then I want both sitting bones as close to the wall as I can. So I'm pushing a little closer. Good, my head and my shoulders on the floor. So as I start to lift up, tricky, I land with my sitting bones onto the wall. It's a little harder to walk up the wall onto the bolster, easier when the floor, it's just on the flat floor or the blanket. So it might feel awkward. But once you get here, find your symmetry again. mat is in an annoying spot. So tucking the shoulder blades under. So the neck is lengthening. And you might feel that sensation of the belly receding. Once you've aligned your legs, you don't have to hold them anymore. Sometimes a strap around the legs helps to just keep them there without you having to do any work. Relaxing your face and your throat, your shoulders and your arms, your hands. Your back torso, your front torso, your hips, your legs, knees, ankles, feet, toes. And letting go. And even though relaxed, open to every sensation as it arises in the space of each breath, in the letting go of each breath. Breath by breath. Stay for as long as you feel is kind to your body, to yourself. And take the feeling of the practice with you. Namaste.